Millennials were supposed to be the broke generation, the ones buried in student debt, priced out of homes, and stuck in their parents' basements. But something unexpected is happening. Gen Z, people born after 1997. Let's get one thing straight first. Neither generation is rich compared to their parents. Baby boomers hold the majority of wealth in the US. Meanwhile, millennials and Gen Z together hold only 12% of the country's total wealth. So we're not talking about Gen Z buying yachts. We're talking about something more interesting. A generational shift in habits, timing, and strategy that's putting Gen Z ahead of where millennials were at the same age. And that gap is growing. To understand why Gen Z is winning, you first have to understand what went wrong for millennials. It wasn't laziness, it was timing. Millennials graduated into two of the worst economic disasters in modern history, the dot-com crash and then the 2008 financial crisis. Just as they were starting their careers, the job market collapsed. They took whatever work they could get, often underpaid, and fell behind on building savings and investing. Then, just as they were recovering and finally ready to buy homes, the pandemic hit. Home prices surged by 60% between 2019 and 2024, from $257,000 to over $412,000. To afford a home today, you'd need to earn over $126,000 a year, but only 7% of 26 to 34-year-olds make that much. Millennials were ready to buy at exactly the wrong moment. They also carry more student debt than any generation before them. Debt is directly preventing them from buying a home. The system wasn't rigged against millennials, but it certainly wasn't kind to them. Now here's where Gen Z did something different. They watched millennials struggle, and they changed their behavior early. How early? On average, Gen Z starts contributing to their workplace retirement plan at age 23. Millennials started at 28. Gen X started at 34. And boomers didn't start until age 40. That 5-year head start is not a small thing. Thanks to compound interest, money invested at 23 grows dramatically more than money invested at 28. Gen Z also leaned hard into investing earlier than any generation before them. 67% of Gen Z investors hold AI-related stocks, higher than any other generation. And unlike older investors focused on retirement, Gen Z's top investment goals are long-term wealth building and buying a home. They're not waiting for 65. They want financial freedom now. The combined Millennial and Gen Z group now holds an average of nearly $146,000 in wealth, well ahead of where Gen X was in their late 30s, and ahead of boomers at around age 37. But here's the twist nobody's talking about. Gen Z didn't just save smarter. They earned differently. The rise of the creator economy, freelancing, and AI tools created income streams that simply didn't exist for millennials in their early 20s. A 22-year-old today can monetize a YouTube channel, sell digital products, flip items online, and use AI to run a one-person agency, all while working a full-time job. And Gen Z adapted to AI faster than anyone. Nearly 3/4 of Gen Z report using AI in their day-to-day work, and they largely see it as an accelerant, something that frees up time, improves output, and creates new opportunities rather than a threat. That mindset alone is a wealth-building superpower. But it's not as perfect as it seems. Over half of Gen Z say they are still delaying major life decisions like marriage, starting a family, or buying a home due to their financial situation. So they're ahead of millennials on paper, but still fighting the same underlying system. So who actually wins this generational battle? Honestly, neither. The real winners are the boomers, sitting on top of $85 trillion in assets. Baby boomers, making up about 20% of the US population, hold more than $85 trillion in assets. Millennials, roughly the same percentage of the population, hold just $18 trillion. About 1/5 of that. The $124 trillion great wealth transfer is coming, as boomers pass their assets to their children. But here's the cruel irony. Most of that money goes to Gen X first, not millennials or Gen Z. Most millennials won't inherit until their 50s or 60s, long after the years where that money would have made the biggest difference. The wealth transfer sounds huge. For most young people, it arrives too late. So, what's the actual lesson here? Gen Z isn't richer because they're smarter. They're ahead because they started earlier, adapted faster, and used the tools available to them. The playbook is simple. Invest young, build multiple income streams, and don't wait for an inheritance that might arrive in your 60s.